Yes, comrades and friends, welcome to the program Global Weekly News, serial number 159. First item, new tensions between Colombia and United States. Both Gustavo Petro and Donald Trump have announced that they are withdrawing their respective charge d'affaires, that is, assistant ambassador like that, in each other's countries in the aftermath of reports of a possible coup plot against Gustavo Petro. As per a report published by the Spanish newspaper on 29th June, Levia, the former Minister of Foreign Affairs in Petro's government, met with the Republican Senator of the United States to discuss an early exit of Petro's progressive government. Second item, comments. We go to BRICS 17th Summit. Lula da Silva spoke in BRICS 17th Summit. Brazilian President and co-founder of BRICS, Lula da Silva, spoke at the 17th BRICS Summit to promote a new development paradigm that comes from the global south and avoids the current capitalist system that, as Marx said, tends to destroy its two sources of wealth, nature and human beings. Lula's speech, the global south has the potential to lead a new development paradigm. Without repeating past mistakes, we will not always remain suppliers of raw materials. We need access to and develop technologies that allow us to participate in every stage of value chain. 80% of carbon emissions are produced by less than 60 companies. Most operate in the oil, gas and cement sectors. Incentives provided by the market go against sustainability. In 2024, according to Oxfam, 5 largest banks in the world committed to granting $169 billion to the fossil fuel sector, and cholera would already have been eradicated if it had reached the global north. Implementing the health and well-being deficit requires fiscal space. There is no right to help. The BRICS Climate Declaration we adopted today presents necessary sources and alternative models to climate financing. Third item, comrades. Unilateral tariffs harm global development. BRICS Summit. The 17th BRICS Summit was held in Rio de Janeiro on July 6 and 7. The summit resolved to oppose any form of unilateral, punitive and discriminatory protectionist measures, calling them harmful for global development. BRICS members also expressed great concern about the rise of unilateral tariff and non-tariff measures, because such moves distort global trade and violate the basic rules laid down by the WTO, World Trade Organization. Within hours after BRICS' commitment to rule-based, open, transparent, fair, global trade was announced and its faith in the WTO was reiterated, US President Donald Trump warned all countries trying to align with the global South bloc. He threatened members with an additional 10% tariff over and above those already announced as part of his so-called reciprocal tariff regime introduced in April. Any country aligning with the anti-American policies of BRICS will be charged an additional 10% tariff, Trump wrote in a social media post on 6th July. Chinese Foreign Ministry reiterated that a trade war and a tariff war have no winners and protectionism leads nowhere. Meanwhile, the implementation of Trump's reciprocal tariff regime was extended until August 1. Trump also threatened BRICS countries with high tariffs if they try to undermine US dollar by creating an alternative currency. The BRICS countries, though, have claimed that the dominance of the US dollar in international trade and US controlled payment systems have increasingly been misused to sustain political and economic hegemony. There is no consensus among the members about forming a new global currency. However, BRICS has been working on developing an alternative payment mechanism to keep their mutual trade safe from the unilateral actions of the US. Bolivian President Luis Arce emphasized that BRICS must give up the US dollar and use national currencies for mutual trade. Similar points were made by Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim. Bolivia and Malaysia have joined as 2 of the 10 new BRICS partner countries. In the joint declaration issued on 6th July, BRICS countries mentioned that growing emphasis on the use of local currencies in mutual trade. Fourth item, comrades. Israeli Prime Minister visits Washington DC. Israeli Prime Minister and wanted war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu is once again visiting the US capital, Washington DC, discussing the relocation of the entire Palestinian population from Gaza. Trump's push for a renewed ceasefire and the renewal of US-Iran talks. The controversial visit has been met with protests from pro-Palestine and anti-imperialist organizations in Washington DC. Earlier this year, Trump floated a controversial plan to colonize the region, emptying Gaza of Palestinians, and developing the coastline into what he called a Riviera of the Middle East, tourist resorts and all that. Although this proposal was denounced by everyone from human rights organizations to most countries in the West Asia region, Netanyahu appears to have issued renewed support for the idea of the mass displacement of Palestinians. Netanyahu told reporters, if people want to stay, they can stay. But if they want to leave, they should be able to leave. The same day, during a dinner at the White House, Netanyahu handed Trump a letter nominating him for a Nobel Peace Prize, citing Trump's role in the Abraham Accords. The Abraham Accords are a set of agreements that established diplomatic normalization between Israel and several Arab states, beginning with the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain. Accords were signed in Washington on 15th September 2020. The US is not a party to the Rome Statute, the treaty that created the International Criminal Court, and the Biden administration stated that it fundamentally rejected the arrest warrant issued by the International Criminal Court against Benjamin Netanyahu. Wanted war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu is yet again continuing to be received by the highest officers in the US while carrying out a mass slaughter campaign against the entire population of Gaza, a member of the Palestinian Youth Movement told the People's Dispatch. Fifth item, comrades. The US makes most compelling case for nuclear proliferation. The atomic bomb has been humanity's most dangerous creation. That the US government used the atom bombs twice against Japan's civilians in August 1945 can neither be forgiven nor be forgotten. One of the first acts of the United Nations in January 1946 was establishing a commission to deal with the problems raised by the discovery of atomic energy. Yet, the resolution did not ban atomic weapons and simply sought to study its problems. Even after the grotesque demonstration in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the US government was reluctant to permit the abolition of nuclear bombs. Having opened the doorway to hell, there was no real desire to close it. Creating the first major United Nations treaty to tackle atomic weapons took 2 decades. More importantly, the treaty did not ban nuclear weapons, while preventing further proliferation of atomic weapons. It nonetheless allowed the then nuclear powers, the United States 1945, the Soviet Union 1949, the United Kingdom 1952, France 1960, and China 1964, to keep their nuclear arsenal intact. When the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, NPT, came into force in 1968, Israel likely had nuclear weapons 1967. Thereafter, despite the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, India in 1974, Pakistan in 1998, North Korea in 2006 developed and tested nuclear weapons. Of all these countries, only North Korea has been pressured to denuclearize by the US and its allies. If it has refused, it is because denuclearizing would lead to its annihilation. The Israeli and US attack on Iran's nuclear energy facilities this June was illegal. It had neither a UN Security Council resolution nor approval from the US Congress. There has been no verifiable evidence that Iran has been developing a nuclear weapon. It has been a member of the NPT since the day the treaty was opened for signatures on 1st July 1968. In 1996, Iran signed the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, another indication of its lack of interest in the development of nuclear weapons. Iran has cooperated with the International Atomic Energy Agency according to international law and norms to have its nuclear sites inspected on a regular basis. After the Israeli attack on Iran, Iranian parliament voted to suspend all cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency. Large crowds gathered across Iran to call upon their government to develop a nuclear bomb to protect the country. Mainstream media portrays countries pursuing nuclear weapons as rogue states that threaten global stability. Nuclear weapon states feel very proud of possession of nuclear bombs. In 2003, the Libyan government, the government of Libya, announced that it would no longer proceed with its nuclear weapons program. The Libyan government of Muammar Gaddafi negotiated with the Western powers to no longer be treated as a rogue state. Between 2004 and 2006, the Atomic Energy Agency came to Libya and dismantled its nuclear weapons project. In 2009, Libya's Muammar Gaddafi went to the United Nations and spoke openly about in a private conversation in which the IAEA chief had told him that the International Atomic Energy Agency could not inspect superpowers. In 2011, NATO destroyed the Libyan state. The lesson was clear. If you give up your nuclear weapons program, you can be annihilated. In 2006, after the US illegal war that overthrew the government of Iraq, the government of North Korea tested a nuclear weapon, the only government to do so in the 21st century. The example of Libya and North Korea sends a very clear message. Developing nuclear weapons and the missiles to deliver them are the most effective deterrent against the use of nuclear weapons by those who already have it. Next item, Comrade 6, strike by Philadelphia workers in USA. As trash, dust and very bad but dirty materials piles up on the streets of Philadelphia. Nearly 10,000 city workers have more than proven how essential they are to making their city run. The slogan of American Federation of State, County and Municipal Employees District 33, which is leading the strike, is Philadelphia works because we do. The sanitation workers, 911 dispatchers, crossing guards, airport staff, morgue personnel, mortuary personnel, and mechanics they are at strike. The strike began at midnight of July 1st. After a week's strike, dead bodies are piling up in the medical examiner's office, and trash, the dirty materials piles grow on the city's streets. City workers opened the strike by asking for an 8% rise per year, but also now demanding a rise of 5% per year. The city government's offer is only 2.75%, 3% and 3% raises over the course of 3-year contract. Apart from a fair wage, the Philadelphia city workers are also fighting for increased contributions from the city to their health care coverage, retirement benefits, cost of living adjustments and other benefits. Since the 1930s, public sector jobs have been a major pathway to economic stability for black workers. The city workers need good, decent pay. 7th item, comrades. Popular referendum in Brazil. A popular referendum began in Brazil on 1st July with the aim of mobilizing the Brazilian population to vote on 2 issues central to the lives of workers. First issue is the ending the 6 days of work and 1 day of rest. Second issue, taxing the super rich. The initiative is being organized by popular movements, unions, progressive parties and civil society entities, and seeks to strengthen public debate on proposals that, according to the organizers, have been blocked by the Conservative Congress. The voting period runs until September 7 and the results will be out on 6th October. However, joint efforts are being organized so that the votes can be held weekly. The popular referendum has been used by social movements in the country since the late 1990s and has already debated issues such as foreign debt, the free trade area of the Americas, the renationalization of a major multinational mining company, and the establishment of a constituent assembly to develop a new constitution. Popular pressure is essential for the Lula government to be able to fulfill its campaign promises, which have faced resistance from Congress and big capital. Lula government wants to act against the interests of minorities. In Brazil, billionaires, the top echelons of the judiciary, military pensioners are the minority. And Lula government wants to act against the interests of these people. The proposal to reduce working hours is due to technological development. Proposal to tax the super rich is to correct historical distortions in the Brazilian tax system, which is heavily based on consumption, penalizing those with lower incomes. Therefore, the Lula government wants to tax the super rich more. 8th item, comrades, pro-Palestine protesters arrested in London. On the day the ban of the Direct Action Group, Palestine Action is a group of pro-Palestine activists. Palestine Action was banned. It took effect in Britain. Counter-terrorism police in London arrested 27 people during a peaceful protest by pro-Palestinian demonstrators of the Palestinian Action Front. Demonstrators held signs reading, "I oppose genocide. I support Palestine Action," in front of a monument to non-violent resistance figure Mahatma Gandhi. Among those arrested were an 80-year-old priest and several public service workers. Palestine Action was officially banned following an action in which activists threw red paint on 2 British warplanes protesting the Labour government's continued support for the genocide in Gaza. The group's actions have targeted British-based sites of companies like Elbit Systems and Rafael. They have forced shut 3 Israeli weapons factories, pressured over a dozen companies to cut relations with Elbit Systems. The most important victory is building an effective global movement in service of the Palestinian people. London police have issued warnings that people may face prosecution under terrorism laws for actions such as wearing Palestine Action t-shirts or posting supportive content online. Despite these threats, musicians and anti-war activists such as Roger Waters have reaffirmed their support for those resisting the Gaza genocide. Progressive and left-wing parliamentarians are pushing for in-depth inquiries into Britain's support for Israel's military campaign. Lastly, comrade, flash floods in Texas of United States. With over 100 confirmed fatalities, including 28 children, from a massive flash flood in central Texas of USA. Up to 12 inches of rain fell on 4th July, with flooding lasting for 3 days. Trump administration's cuts to environmental protections and climate research will accelerate climate change. Thank you, comrades. See you next week.